Breaking overnight, we have new video of a fire that has an apartment building in Sun Prairie evacuated this morning.
And we are live on Madison's east side this morning where a standoff is currently underway, what we know and how it could impact your drive to work.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, folks, and thanks for waking up with us on this Thursday, August 15th. We have new details of all of those breaking news stories coming into the Channel 3000 Alert Center as we speak, but we're going to start off the 6 o'clock hour with a little bit of good news, Dave.
Yeah, the sunshine is breaking through this morning after after not a lot of sunshine over the past couple of days, really 5 straight days of at least a trace of rain in Madison. I don't think it will be a 6-day streak because we're looking at that sunshine this morning on the Edgewater Skycam. We do have some patchy dense fog setting up once again closer to southwestern Wisconsin. We're seeing that on our Platteville camera, Queen Bee Radio Skycam. Visibility less than a quarter of a mile in the Dells, so very thick fog in spots like Boscobel, Lone Rock, and Platteville. Visibility starting to improve a little bit closer to the Mississippi River in Prairie du Chien. Temperatures are in the mid-50s in Madison to start us off on this Thursday morning. 57 in Janesville, 55 in Juneau and the Dells, and 60 even in Boscobel. That's about 10 degrees cooler than we started off at this time on Wednesday morning. So by the time we get to this afternoon, highs will be in the mid-70s, partly sunny and pleasant. Let's take a look at that first alert traffic update. Taking a live look at Park Street and the Beltline, no major problems showing up here. We do have that police incident that Christina Laurie has more details on in just a little bit, showing up on our traffic map, and we're starting to see some of those normal delays closer to Stoughton Road, but the Beltline not looking too bad. Here is a look at your drive time. Sun Prairie to downtown on 151, and it'll cost you 15 minutes, average speed of around 40 miles per hour. That's your first alert traffic update.
It is so nice to see the sun. I've been missing the vitamin D lately.
Me too, and it will stick around for today. Not much longer though, so enjoy it while it lasts.
We'll take it all in.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave.
Breaking news now, just into the Channel 3000 Alert Center. Madison Police will update us within the next 15 minutes on a standoff on the city's east side.
It has part of Monona Drive closed this morning, and that's where we find our Christina Laurie live with the very latest. Christina.
Good morning. All Madison police are telling us right now is that there's no indication that this standoff will end anytime soon. So keep that in mind as you head to work, especially if you work here on Madison's east side. Right now, we are standing in the parking lot of the Walgreens at the intersection of Monona Drive and Cottage Grove Road, where you can see officers are out directing traffic. That's because no cars are being allowed on Monona Drive between Cottage Grove Road all the way up to Buckeye Road due to a standoff. What we know is that at 1:30 this morning, Madison police were called to the 4000 block of Monona Drive for reports of shots fired in the backyard of a home here. We're told there weren't any injuries or reports of damage, but when officers tried to talk to the 53-year-old suspect, he wouldn't respond. That's led to this standoff. Officers say they've established a perimeter, called in the tactical SWAT team to help, but this is very much an active situation, as evidenced by the parking lot itself, which is quite the scene. About a dozen police cars here, as well as the SWAT team. Again, if you are driving in this part of town, know that Monona Drive is closed between Cottage Grove Road all the way up to Buckeye Road. We will be out here all morning, and we will take that press conference live at 6:15.
All right, Christina Laurie, we will check back in with you in about 15 minutes. Thank you very much.
More local breaking news now. The Sun Prairie Fire Department is investigating what caused an apartment fire overnight.
That call came in just before 2 this morning. Firefighters say it started in the bathroom of one of those apartments. Crews were able to contain the fire there and save the rest of the building. All of the residents were evacuated safely, and everyone but the person living in that affected apartment has been able to return home this morning. No injuries were reported. And a breaking news update we first told you about yesterday morning. The search for an AWOL inmate is now over. The Dane County Sheriff's Office says 19-year-old Michael Duarte was arrested yesterday. Duarte was supposed to be serving a probation sentence with work release, and he was in the process of transferring that release to the Sauk County Jail. Duarte, though, failed the intake process and was sent back, but he never reported back at Dane County. He has since been booked into the Sauk County Jail and will be sent back to Dane.
Breaking nationally overnight, a suspected gunman is in custody this morning after police say he shot 6 Philadelphia officers in a standoff. That standoff lasted more than 7 hours. Police were serving a narcotics warrant at the house when the suspect opened fire. All 6 injured officers have since been released. The mayor of Philadelphia says more gun control measures need to be taken at the state and federal levels to make sure criminals like the suspect don't have access to guns.
But our officers need help. They need help. They need help with gun control. They need help with keeping these weapons out of these people's hands. It's aggravating, it's saddening, and it's just something that we need to do something about. And if the state and federal government don't want to stand up to the NRA and some other folks, then let us police ourselves. Our officers deserve to be protected, and they don't deserve to be shot at by a guy for hours with an unlimited supply of weapons and an unlimited supply of bullets.
One officer who was hurt in a car accident on the way to the scene is still recovering this morning. Nearby Temple University issued a lockdown as that situation developed.
Back in Madison, businesses on State Street say yesterday's accidental shooting shouldn't reflect poorly on the downtown area. That shooting sent a woman to the hospital with serious injuries after she was shot in the stomach while getting into an SUV. Police did arrest the shooter, though they later ruled the case as an accident. This comes as the city is taking steps to prevent crime in the State Street area, but business owners and officers say this incident does not fall under the same umbrella.
I think that we all agree that this was, especially in this instance, it's more isolated, that could have happened anywhere. This shouldn't really be a bad mark on State Street or even just downtown Madison.
Police did have to close the block while they investigated the shooting, but it reopened within a couple of hours.
Around the state this morning, a new shooting range is set to open by the end of the year in Baraboo. While many have shown their support, it's drawing some concerns from people who live nearby. Right now, Des Tactical Arms has a retail store in the Dells, but they're expanding their services to offer people a safe place to shoot their guns indoors. While the owner of the shooting range says this will provide a good opportunity for education on safe gun use, a man we spoke to says it invites violence to the area.
Being able to do sales and then be able to say, okay, do you want, some education, to go along with that, be able to teach them as well and not just, send them out the door and say, hey, good luck.
If you bring something like this to an area that has already had an issue with a lot of drug-related matters, I don't believe that it's going to be good for the area.
You can find more information on the educational courses the new shooting range will offer on our website, channel3000.com.
Happening tonight in Madison, the city is hosting an active shooter training class for free. It will include a statistical breakdown of active shooter events, historical case studies, and a conversation about potential scenarios with the Madison Police Department. That will run from 6 until 8 over at the city's Police Training Center on Femright Drive. More of these trainings are scheduled for November of this year.
Governor Tony Evers says he'll be meeting with Republican leaders from the state Senate and Assembly soon to talk about advancing gun-related laws in Wisconsin.
Several states, including red states, including even our president, seems to be talking about the importance of universal background checks and red flag laws. I believe that's something we can do in Wisconsin. I'm hopeful that my conversations with the two leaders bear some fruit.
Now, the governor says if there is a feeling that something can be accomplished, he would consider calling a special session.
Some Wisconsin farmer groups are throwing their support behind the governor this morning for asking the president to end the trade war with China. Governor Evers sent a letter to the president on Monday calling for an end to the, quote, unnecessary trade war that's negatively impacting farmers. Wisconsin Public Radio reports the Wisconsin Farmers Union supports that letter, adding it echoes what farmers have been consistently saying.
Looking ahead now, cranberry farmers in Wisconsin are expected to harvest around 5.6 billion barrels of the fruit this year, making this the 25th year the state has led the nation in cranberry production. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Wisconsin's cranberry industry generates about $1 billion in state economic impact and provides thousands of local jobs. In total, about 9 billion barrels of cranberries will be harvested this year in America, with more than half of those being grown in Wisconsin.
Human remains found in Grant County nearly 24 years ago have finally been identified. Gail Byers has been known as John Doe since he was buried in the spring of 1996. Grant County deputies found the Boscobel man's remains the fall before that, but his body was too decomposed to identify him. The current coroner reopened the case this year, and with the help of modern fingerprinting technology, the FBI was able to obtain prints. His family hadn't heard from him since the early 80s.
I think there was a little bit of sense of relief on their part that, okay, now we know where he is and we know what happened, and we can kind of have some closure now as well.
Byers would have been in his mid-50s when he died. When his body was found, the coroner had determined he died of a heart condition. His surviving family has decided to keep his remains at the county-owned cemetery where he was buried decades ago. They are planning to have a graveside service once they can get a headstone that displays his name. Byers was a Marine veteran.
A wanted man in northern Wisconsin has been living in a makeshift bunker he built in the woods for more than 3 years. Police say Jeremiah Button never showed up for his trial in 2014 after being charged with several counts of child sex crimes. Last week, a hunter found him inside this bunker in the woods in Portage County. Investigators say he used solar panels to charge 2 car batteries, which he used to operate all sorts of electronics like lights, a water filter system, a radio, TV, and tablet. The hunter who found him says that once he saw it, he just had to go in.
I push the door open and I look inside and I can see canned foods, there are little storage boxes, and I'm like, I gotta go in. And then I come around the corner a little bit and there he is, laying in his bed. I mean, I was shaking when I went in. I was shaking when I went out.
Now, he called police who arrested him that day. Officers say Button got everything he needed to survive from a nearby landfill. He has a pre-trial conference set for September 16th.
Just an incredible story there.
I cannot imagine coming across that.
No way. All right, 6:11 your time now. If you or your child are having anxiety about going back to school, you're not alone. Our medical expert, Dr. Mandira Mehra, is joining us to discuss how to cope with that back-to-school stress. That's coming up a little later on in the show.
And we're getting a break from the rain today, but more storms are going to be back in that forecast. Dave's updating his extended day when News 3 Now This Morning continues.
Good morning. Here comes the sun on this Thursday morning. Finally, after 5 straight days of at least a trace of rain in Madison and a whole lot more than that across portions of southern Wisconsin, we get a dry day on the way for this Thursday. High temperatures today with the clouds and the sprinkles around for much of our Wednesday were about 10 degrees below normal for this time of year, in the upper 60s and low 70s across much of southern Wisconsin. So officially 0.04 inches of rain yesterday, so not much at all, but it was the clouds that really made the headlines as it kept temperatures cool yesterday. Today will be about 5 degrees warmer, still a little bit below normal for this time of year, but feeling nicer, just really pleasant outside. No humidity basically at all in the air, and it's just going to feel really, really nice. A great day to head outside. Weather track is quiet for once across southern Wisconsin, but our visibility tracker is not. We're tracking some more patchy, dense fog west of Madison across southwestern Wisconsin. Visibility is less than 1/4 of a mile in the Dells and close to 1/4 of a mile in Boscobel and Lone Rock. Temperatures are in the mid-50s to start us off in Madison, 56 to be exact, 57 in Janesville, 58 in Monroe, and 60 in Boscobel. A little bit warmer closer to Prairie du Chien, but still overall about 5 to 10 degrees cooler compared to the start of Wednesday across southern Wisconsin. Platteville, on our Green Bee Radio Skycam, we could see some of that shallow fog showing up in this part of Grant County. A gorgeous sunrise no matter where you look across the area this morning, and it's nice to have that sunshine with us, and it will be with us through much of this Thursday, but then shower and storm chances return quickly as we head into tonight and early Friday morning. Nice shot there in Madison, the WISC-TV Skycam. High temperature trend, we will be in the low 80s this weekend with a little bit more humidity, and then we stay in more typical summertime values for temperatures into next week. Plenty of sunshine on the way with a couple of stray storms possible on Monday and Tuesday, but I think more sun than anything else as we head into next week, so that's going to feel pretty nice as well. Future track is showing a quiet day today with a few clouds. We'll call it partly sunny skies and pleasant with highs in the mid to upper 70s, but as we start our Friday morning, we may need to break out the umbrellas pretty quickly because showers and thunderstorms, maybe even some downpours possible during the early morning hours of Friday, and then during the afternoon, evening hours, a shower or two can't be ruled out. Anywhere from about 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch of rain could be in the cards for portions of south central Wisconsin, depending on where those downpours set up as our next disturbance gets here on Friday. And then shower and storm chances stay with us for the weekend with temperatures in the low 80s. As I mentioned, we stay in the mid 80s for much of next week with plenty of sunshine, especially towards the middle of the week. Maybe a shower or two late Monday into early Tuesday. That's a look at your weather with a look at your first alert traffic update. Let's turn it over to Jason Stone. Jason?
Good morning. No issues on the Beltline so far. All lanes are at or near the posted speed limit. There is a slight delay on Verona Road at Highway PD. Otherwise, routes heading into Madison and around Dane County are mostly clear at this time. Volume is light from campus up through the Isthmus. With your first alert traffic, I'm Jason Stone.
Jason and Dave, thank you so much. Whether it's worries sparked by mass shooting threats or just general back-to-school anxiety, your kids may be hesitant to head back to the classroom in a couple of weeks.
Here to tell us how you can talk to your kids through some of those issues is our medical expert, Dr. Mandira Mehra. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is a real concern for lots of kids, especially with all of the bad news we've seen lately.
It really is, and I'm sure we remember. We're not that old, or you guys aren't that old, but you know, the first time you go to school, who am I going to sit with at lunch, and how do I get from PE back to science class, and you know, just those regular back-to-school anxieties are very real. And so there are some helpful tips for parents out there that they can take into consideration, really trying to keep ahead of the anxieties is important. So number one, if you know your child's really anxious about something, discussing that with them. You know, what are your anxieties? Not being dismissive of those anxieties, saying don't worry about it, it's going to be fine. Actually addressing them head on and saying, what can we do to discuss your anxieties? And then how can we actually work towards positive suggestions? Also trying to practice, whether it's going to the school, doing a practice run, talking about how they'll get from one class to another. Number three is talking about if those anxieties do occur at school, what do you do? Is it some deep breathing? Is it meditating? Is it actually calling a parent or talking to a teacher about it? And number four is reassuring them that the school is supposed to be a safe place. The teachers are there to help you, your friends are there to help you and support you for the most part, and that just reminding students that School is supposed to be fun and it's for learning. And at the end of the day, some of those anxieties will be there. That's a part of growing up. That's a part of learning. But how do we combat those and stay positive?
Just like anything else, though, it's just important to talk about it, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know we wanted to touch a little bit about the shooting and how mass shootings are really also affecting kids today going back to school. So on top of all the normal anxieties, they're also combating the back to school kind of mass shootings and the anxieties associated with that. And we also do want to remind parents that oftentimes children will feed off the parents' anxiety. And this is obviously an anxiety-provoking time, but we have some helpful suggestions and tips for parents and kids as well. Number one is, if you do feel overly anxious, of course seeking help, whether it's a doctor, a therapist, a loved one, a rabbi, a pastor, whoever it is, seeking help. Number two, depending on the age of your child, having that difficult conversation. So remember, a lot of schools nowadays, I think most now, are actually having active shooter drills. And so what does that mean? Talking to your child about that ahead of time in a way that's not fearful for them, but almost the way we would talk about a fire drill, is that this is an unlikely event, despite the fact we hear a lot about it on the news, a lot about it on social media. It's still an unlikely event, but it's great to be prepared. So just like anything else, it's great to be prepared. Number two is really talking about, if that does happen, we have a plan of action, and that's the most important thing. And of course, ultimately at the end of the day, reminding those students that being at home, talking to the parents about it, that in itself is a safe place. So just telling your child, what anxieties do you have? Have you heard something on social media? Do your friends say something? Have you noticed a friend that maybe seems withdrawn? Or have you noticed red flags? We don't make fun of those kids, we don't bully them, we don't gossip. We reach out to an adult, whether it's a teacher or a parent, and we say, you know, we've noticed these things, let's get help. Like they always say, if you see something, say something.
All right, Dr. Mayer, always helping us out with the great advice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Great to be here.
6:21 your time now. A Madison group is advocating to remove certain high school mascots across the state. We are taking a look at that issue. That's coming up after the break.
But first, a cloudy start to the week, but the sun is finally making its return for your Thursday. Dave's got your out the door forecast. You're watching News 3 Now this morning. We thank you for that, and we will be right back.
At a
Welcome back at 6:25 on a Thursday morning, and the sun is making its return, and it just puts a smile on a lot of people's faces.
Oh, yeah. Finally, we've been waiting about a week straight for at least this amount of sunshine, and we're finally going to get it across southern Wisconsin. We have it right now, in fact. Let me show you on the Edgewater Skycam in Madison. Lots of sunshine on the way for this morning and into the afternoon hours. The exception is there is some patchy dense fog across southwestern Wisconsin that we will have to navigate at least for the next couple of hours until we can get those temperatures up and get that fog out of there. Temperatures right now are in the mid-50s in Madison, upper 50s in Platteville, and low 60s in Mineral Point. I mentioned that fog just west of Madison, even across portions of western Dane County. So if you are heading a little bit closer to Mount Horeb or maybe into Iowa County, Lafayette County, and Grant County, keep in mind that there is some pretty dense fog right now, and it will be around for at least the next couple of hours that you will have to navigate early this morning. So that patchy fog with us, but then we will see temperatures rise into the 60s and mid-70s for highs with partly sunny skies. Just pleasant conditions overall on this Thursday. As we head into the next couple of days, though, those rain chances do return for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So make sure and enjoy that sunshine while we have it for today. And that is your first alert forecast.
Thank you very much, Dave. 6:26 your time now. Changes are coming to a Rock County program that provides help to young children with disabilities. At last night's Human Services Committee meeting, they voted to cut ties with CISA 2, which has provided care to children with disabilities in Rock County for the last 4 decades. The board says this decision was made after contract terms could not be reached. The county will now explore taking a contract with another agency.
A new resolution aims to get rid of all Native American mascots in schools statewide. According to the resolution, 31 of 421 public school districts in Wisconsin still use Native American mascots, symbols, images, or nicknames. Administrators from districts across the state are divided on that proposal.
Our Ho-Chunk families, many of them, not all of them, but many of them are very proud that we use the mascot chiefs.
This is culturally abusive behavior. It establishes an unwelcome and hostile learning environment. It's not a matter of personal opinion.
The resolution will be sent to the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, asking the group to support legislation requiring districts to retire Native American mascots.
More local news now. City leaders are looking to temporarily relocate the city's inner city bus stop that's currently outside of the Memorial Union because of safety concerns. A few different locations are being considered, including one on Monroe Street near Camp Randall and on Lake Street near the Kohl Center. The university does not support that Monroe Street location, though, citing concerns about buses during big events like game days and graduation. The new short-term spot would have outdoor passenger shelters as well as concrete pads.
Some good news around the state this morning. Opioid deaths in Wisconsin are at their lowest level since 2015. The 838 deaths reported last year is a 10% decrease from the year before. The State Department of Health Services says they're using a new online tool called Data Direct Opioids. It allows them to track opioid-related deaths by year, drug, age, sex, and race. The dashboard includes death and hospital records, plus state and national risk factor surveys.
Madison's lakes are one of the best parts of our downtown, and tonight there's a push to connect the two even more. You can weigh in on the future of Law Park on the shores of Lake Monona with the start of a series of public input sessions tonight. Some of the suggested improvements include building pedestrian bridges or even a terraced park there. The first meeting is at the workshop at the atrium at the Villager Mall from 6 until 7:30. If you can't make it tonight, there are 2 other workshops scheduled as well. All right, 6:29 on your Thursday. Still ahead for us this morning. We have the top 3 things you need to know to start your day.
That includes a breaking news update from our Christina Laurie. She's monitoring a police standoff that has part of Monona Drive closed this morning. Keep watching News 3 Now this morning. We'll be right back.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, folks, and thanks for joining us on this Thursday, August 15th. We are following a lot of breaking news stories this morning, both nationally and locally.
First, we begin here in Madison into the Channel 3000 Alert Center this morning. The Sun Prairie Fire Department is looking at what caused an apartment fire overnight. Officials say the fire started in the bathroom of one of the apartments. Firefighters were able to contain the fire there and save the rest of the building. No injuries have been reported so far.
More breaking news nationally this morning. A gunman is in custody after he shot 6 police officers in a standoff that lasted more than 7 hours. All 6 officers have since been released from the hospital. The gunman surrendered to SWAT teams nearly 8 hours after that standoff began.
And rounding out the top 3, businesses on State Street are saying that yesterday's afternoon's accidental shooting shouldn't reflect poorly in downtown Madison. Police say a woman was getting into an SUV that her ride was driving when she was shot. That shooter was arrested, but the shooting itself has been ruled an accident.
All right, those are the top 3 things to know on your Thursday. Dave's keeping an eye on the weather and the traffic for us. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Leah and Josh. Finally, that sunshine returning to Madison. We can see it on the WISC-TV Skycam front and center there. And that sunshine will be front and center in this forecast, at least for today. We do get the storm chances back tomorrow. But Weather Track, a well-deserved morning off. Not too much in the way of clouds forming this morning, except if you consider the clouds on the ground in the form of fog. West of Madison, that fog is pretty dense this morning, so keep that in mind if you are traveling over the next couple of hours. Temperatures are in the mid-50s in Madison and in the Dells, and in Platteville, low 60s in Mineral Point and Boscobel. Temperatures and winds over the next 12 hours will reach highs in the mid-70s with partly sunny skies. Pleasant conditions on this Thursday before those storm chances return early on Friday morning. So let's take a look at your first alert traffic update. We still do have that police incident on Monona Drive. Other than that, we are noticing some normal slow go on the interchange of Stoughton Road and the Beltline. Everything else is heading out at the posted speeds this morning. Average speed from Oregon to the Beltline on 14 is about 75 miles per hour. That'll cost you 7 minutes this morning. And that is your first alert traffic update.
All right, thank you very much, Dave. We have more breaking news into the Channel 3000 Alert Center this morning. Madison police will hold a press conference within the next half hour here on a standoff on the city's east side.
Christina Laurie is live on the scene this morning. Christina, what can you tell us?
Good morning, Josh and Leah. The latest we're hearing from police is that there's no indication that the standoff will end anytime soon. So be sure to keep that in mind if you're heading to work on Madison's east side. We are outside the Walgreens, standing in the parking lot at the intersection of Monona Drive and Cottage Grove Road, where you can see that police are out blocking that intersection, directing traffic. Monona Drive is closed between Cottage Grove Road all the way up to Buckeye Road. That's because of this standoff. What we know is that at 1:30 this morning, Madison police were called to the 4000 block of Monona Drive after reports of shots fired in the backyard of a home. We're told there weren't any injuries or reports of damage, but when officers tried to talk to the 53-year-old suspect, he wouldn't respond. That's led to this standoff. Officers say they've established a perimeter, called in the tactical SWAT team to help, but this is very much an active situation. As evidenced by the parking lot we're standing in itself, there are about a dozen police cars to my right. Again, if you are driving in this part of town, know that Monona Drive is closed between Cottage Grove Road, Buckeye Road. No word yet on how long those road closures will last, but we are expecting to hear from the police chief himself coming up at 7 o'clock. Josh.
Christina Laurie live on Madison's east side. Christina, thank you.
All right, 6:36 on this Thursday. Finding a house within your price range is especially difficult these days as home prices continue to climb.
Prospective homeowners risk falling into what is known as a debt trap. We'll take a look at how to avoid an expensive housing mishap when News 3 Now This Morning returns.
All right, so it's the time of morning that we always ask you to share your morning with us. And this is a peek at my morning last weekend when I was out camping. I found myself a little buddy, Josh.
Leah and her toad.
Let me tell you, I love animals, folks. I caught this little guy, saw about 4 others. Don't worry, I did let him go as much as I wanted to keep him.
As you're enjoying the nature, as I call it.
My boyfriend, Zach, would have killed me if I brought this guy home.
I love that picture.
He's a cutie, isn't he?
He is a cutie.
He is a cutie, and no warts. Josh asked me earlier.
Did you name him?
I didn't, because I wasn't keeping him. I didn't want to get too emotionally involved.
That's true. I don't blame you.
All right, so what does your morning look like? If you have any camping photos in particular, send them my way.
Or glamping.
Or glamping for Josh. There you go. Post them on our social media pages. Josh and I will find them and share them right here on the program. All right, home prices are close to the highest they've been in a decade, and that can make it easy to fall into what Consumer Reports calls the debt trap. They are warning people to avoid buying a home that's more expensive than they can comfortably afford. A recent survey of home buyers found 1/3 ended up paying more than they expected to. Consumer Reports is warning against overextending your budget. That includes not taking on a larger mortgage just because you've been approved for one, and putting down as much money as you can up front.
It not only means you're going to have a lower mortgage, it also helps you avoid private mortgage insurance. That's a lot of money to save.
Tonight on News 3 Now at 10, we will tell you how much money you should spend on that new house to avoid falling into the debt trap. Some good advice to come there.
Something to follow. All right, 6:41 is your time, and it is going to be a pretty nice day out there with the return of some sunshine, finally.
At it, folks.
Look at that. We're going to snap back to those clouds and rain, though, coming up this weekend. Dave's tracking it all as he updates his extended forecast.
But first, it's August 15th, a sunny day to wish a happy birthday to this little guy, Graham, Isaac, and all the kiddos turning 3 today. Thanks for celebrating with us here on News 3 Now this morning. We'll be right back.
Look who's
Here comes the sun, do.
What a beautiful voice, Josh.
You think so?
I do. Keep going.
Is Dave laughing at me over there?
Dave's not so sure. What we are sure, though, is that sun is gorgeous, Dave.
I mean, it's all right, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Am I all right, or is the sun
No,
all right?
You're all right, Josh. And that voice was just music to my ears, as is this forecast today. As we get into the weekend, we start getting into my voice, my vocal talent, shall we say. Weather track showing a high-pressure system stopping by for the day, and we'll say thanks for stopping by, San Diego there. And we have a low-pressure system still off to the west that will create some showers and storms into this weekend, but we'll enjoy this nice weather while we have it. And Doppler track enjoying a nice morning off. No showers to worry about today, although we do have a little bit of fog setting up across southwestern Wisconsin. Some of that is patchy and dense. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Probably dry as we head into the rest of Thursday. The exception gets here. Or not really the exception. The dry weather has been the exception to the rule. So more normal conditions, shall we say, as we get into early Friday morning. We'll need the umbrella to start off our Friday. And then we're showing probably dry conditions. I can't rule out a stray shower later on Friday into this weekend. Some more shower and thunderstorm chances are in the forecast. This forecast is for the birds today in Madison, the Edgewater Skycam, and with the Capitol in the shot looking fantastic. 76 the forecast high today. That's still running about 5 degrees below normal for this time of year. I mentioned that patchy dense fog, visibility of about 1/4 mile through the Dells, Lone Rock, Boscobel, and into Platteville. Our visibility improving slightly, but really west of Madison, you'll have to watch out for that dense fog for the next couple of hours at least, and then we'll start to see that lift during the mid-morning hours. Temperatures are in the mid to upper 50s to start us off, so that's cooler than yesterday, and once again, less humid. It feels almost brisk outside. Comfortable, that's for sure, as we start off this morning. And that humidity does return a little bit, though, as we get into this weekend. On Future Track, we're noticing those temperatures in the mid to upper 70s for highs today. Partly sunny and pleasant. Then showers and thunderstorms become possible once again into tomorrow morning. So have that umbrella ready to go as we start off our Friday. And then can't rule out some more showers into Friday afternoon and evening. And then we'll keep those shower and thunderstorm chances in the forecast for Saturday and Sunday. We're humid on Saturday with temperatures in the lower 80s, and then we're in the mid 80s with more sunshine than anything else as we head into the start of next week, although a chance of a shower and thunderstorm is possible late Monday into early Tuesday. And that sunshine coming in handy for Jack in Lodi, the dog days of summer. Yes. Looking very nice. Maybe not the best pool day today, but not the worst as well, with temps in the mid 70s and a good amount of sunshine.
Scoot over, Jack, because here comes Leah.
Oh,
that was
boy.
rough.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
What's in this? What's in this? Okay.
Dave's done with us.
Oh, dang, I thought I would do better than you.
Nice try.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep. The morning sprint is up next, but first, here's Tony DeCopo with what's ahead at 7. Hi, Tony.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS this morning, 6 police officers are shot in Philadelphia. The gunman is finally in custody after a standoff that lasted more than 7 hours. What we're learning about the suspect's criminal history. And fears of a recession grow after the Dow suffers its biggest plunge of the year. What this could mean for your money and why some argue there's a silver lining. We'll see you at 7.
6:51, time for the morning sprint with an update on a number of breaking news stories both locally and nationally.
We start on Madison's east side, where police are about to hold a press conference on an overnight standoff. Christina Laurie is live with the latest. Christina?
We are expecting to hear from Madison Police for the first time officially this morning within the next 10 minutes. As you can see behind me, officers are still out here at the intersection of Monona Drive and Cottage Grove Road directing traffic due to a standoff that happened in a home nearby. Around 1:30 this morning, officers were called here after reports of shots fired. There weren't any injuries or reports of damage, but when officers tried to talk to the 53-year-old suspect, he would not respond. That's led to this standoff involving nearly a dozen Madison police cars and the city's SWAT team. If you're driving through the east side to work, know that Monona Drive is closed between Cottage Grove Road and Buckeye Road, and we will stream that 7 a.m. news conference up on our website, channel3000.com, as well as our Facebook page.
Christina, thank you. More breaking news in Sun Prairie, where fire crews are investigating what caused an apartment fire. That call came in just before 2 this morning. Fire officials say the fire started in the bathroom of one of those apartments. Firefighters were able to contain the fire there and save the rest of the building. No injuries were reported.
The search for an AWOL inmate is now over. The Dane County Sheriff's Office says 19-year-old Michael Duarte was arrested Wednesday. Duarte was supposed to be serving a probation sentence with work release and was in the process of transferring that release. He was booked into the Sauk County Jail and will be sent back to Dane County.
Breaking news out of Philadelphia this morning, where a gunman is in custody after a shooting that injured 6 police officers yesterday afternoon in a standoff that lasted more than 7 hours. A SWAT team safely evacuated 2 police officers and 3 others from the home. The injured officers were eventually released from local hospitals. The gunman surrendered nearly 8 hours after that standoff began.
Businesses on State Street say yesterday's accidental shooting shouldn't reflect poorly on downtown Madison. That shooting sent a woman to the hospital with serious injuries after she was shot in the stomach while getting into an SUV. Police arrested the shooter, though they later ruled the case an accident.
The city of Madison is hosting an active shooter training class for free tonight. It'll include a statistical breakdown of active shooter events, historical case studies, and a conversation about potential scenarios with the Madison Police Department. It runs from 6 until 8 at the city's police training center on Femrite Drive.
A wanted man in northern Wisconsin is behind bars this morning after a hunter found him inside a makeshift bunker. Police say Jeremiah Button never showed up for his trial back in 2014, where he was facing several counts of child sex crimes. A hunter found him inside this bunker in the woods in Portage County. Button is now back in custody and has a pre-trial conference set for September 16th.
Sunshine returns today, but also a little bit of fog showing up across southwestern Wisconsin. We could see that on our Queen Bee Radio Skycam in Platteville. Visibility is about a quarter of a mile from the Dells through Lone Rock, close to Platteville and Boscobel. Temperatures over the next 12 hours or so moving through the 60s into the mid-70s for highs today, partly sunny and pleasant. Rain chances return early on Friday morning.
Dave, thank you. Right now, Hy-Vee is investigating a data incident involving its payment processing systems. In a statement, Hy-Vee says the investigation is focused on transactions specifically at some Hy-Vee fuel pumps, drive-through coffee shops, and restaurants. The company says the investigation is still in its early stages, but they believe the actions already taken have stopped the unauthorized activity.
Republican lawmakers are advocating for more birth control access in Wisconsin. They are introducing a bill that would allow pharmacists to prescribe birth control pills. No Democrat has signed on to the measure, even though they also favor expanding access to birth control. Democrats already introduced their own bill, which has fewer restrictions on pharmacists.
Opioid deaths in Wisconsin are at their lowest level since 2015. The 838 deaths reported in 2018 is a 10% decrease from the year before. The State Department of Health Services says they're using a new online tool called Data Direct Opioids. It allows them to track opioid-related deaths by year, drug, age, sex, and race. The dashboard includes death and hospital records, plus state and national risk factor surveys.
The Brewers are coming home with the win after yesterday's game against the Twins. Minnesota started off with 2 home runs in the first, and jumping ahead to the 8th, Brewers were down 5-3 when Trent Grisham homered to right and sent 3 runs in. 6-5 Brewers is your final score.
And you won't want to miss the Packers game tonight as they take the field for their second preseason game of the summer. It'll be the preseason debut for Aaron Rodgers as he's expected to play the first quarter against the Ravens. You can watch that game right here on News 3 Now.
6:56 now. Let's turn it over to Jason Stone with the final look at your First Alert traffic. Hi, Jason.
Hello. Vehicles are lining up on the Beltline from Stoughton Road through Monona Drive. All other lanes are at or near the posted speed limit, and commuters on John Nolan have a mostly clear path heading downtown at this time. With your first alert traffic, I'm Jason Stone.
Thank you very much, Jason.
And here is a look at the Edgewater Skycam in Madison. What is that? That's some sunshine that is around. It will be around for much of the day. Some of us starting off, as I mentioned, with that patchy dense fog, especially across southwestern Wisconsin. So that's something to look out for over the next couple of hours. Otherwise, temperatures rising through the 50s and 60s by the lunch hour. We're near about 70 degrees. Highs will be in the mid 70s, partly sunny and pleasant for today. Don't get used to these dry and sunny conditions because rain chances return to the forecast as we head into the next couple of days, specifically Friday morning. We're in the 80s as we get into this weekend.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you for joining us. Go make it a great Thursday. We'll see you back here tomorrow.